Get Heavy Podcast, hosted by Craig Casamas and John Scheimer.
Hey, what's up, guys? Today's podcast, I am talking to my buddy, my old friend Chris Owens from the band Lords. Back in the day, 2000s, early 2000s, we played a bunch of shows together. One of the most fucking epic bands I've ever seen. They were really the catalyst for the Wrath starting. My old band Ox played with them many years ago, and I saw them play, and I thought, there's a new bar, and I decided I wanted to start something gnarly. And so that was a big part of me wanting to start the Wrath. He is currently since obviously stopped playing music, but he moved out here to LA and has been spending the last 10, 15 years building an insane career doing high-end studio builds for, Diplo, you name it. You see tons of stuff on his social media about the incredible studio builds that he's been doing. He was always recording bands out in Louisville when he was there, but when he came out here, he kind of just fell into it and ended up working out pretty good for him. So I hadn't talked to him in a long time. It was really, really good to catch up with him. So please enjoy the episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon. $1 a month gets you bonus footage, early access to the episodes, stuff like that. And we also still have merch. The t-shirts and masks are for sale. T-shirts will be shipping soon. Hopefully masks are already in. So go to getheavypodcast.bigcartel.com for that, and patreon.com patreon.com/getheavypodcast for all that stuff. And also, thanks for all the support and all the feedback so far. Love you guys.
Somebody can do drywall framing. And at the Palmdale one, the guy gave me a couple of references. And then I went to the one a couple miles away, actually in Lancaster. Same thing, got a couple of references. Got a hold of a couple of people that were going to come out to the job site, do a walkthrough. And as I was walking out of the Home Depot in Lancaster, I saw this guy. He was like loading up some stuff, and I was looking at him like this guy's got some drywall. He's got like 2010 Silverado in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Got tools, but it doesn't look like a scrub.
Yeah.
And it's like
doesn't look like a blatant white supremacist.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna holler at this dude, this Mexican guy, and I got him up like, "Yo," he's like, "You do drywall?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "You framing and demo and other shit?" And he's like, "Yeah, we do everything." And I was like, "I got a project, I got a thing." Anyway, I just kind of talked to him, gave me his card, talked to him some more. Anyway, all these other people came out. Everyone was a fucking goon. And then this dude was literally the last guy. He was like, he wasn't even sure if he could make it out, but he came at the very last minute. He was just like chill. And then he's been working out so far. But it was just like, I just had to go fucking hang out in the Home Depot parking lot to like find a dude.
So it's so American. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So how many like projects do you have going at a time? Multiple or?
So for the last, really, I'd say the last like 7 years or so, I've had no less than 3 and upwards of 12 at any given point in time.
Wow. Jesus.
So right now, I don't even fucking remember.
I don't need you.
But I've got like 6 or 7 like pretty big ones all happening, and some of them they're all in different phases. Like we have like 3 that are like full on in construction right now, and then 3 or 4 that are in like sort of design planning phase. But then we also have a bunch of small things, and it's just kind of like a long list of like little things that if there's like a day or two where there's like, oh, I got guys free for a day. Cool. We're getting this thing that's been sitting around for months. It's not super important. So it's it's been crazy, man. It's like,
well, so, obviously, after Lords and all that stuff, you move out here, and it's like, I didn't know what you were going to do. Were you moving out here to do music, or were you doing did you come out here to do this?
No, not at all. I came out here. I was thinking I was just like, gonna like still be recording bands, and like I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll like get a job in a real studio, and like instead of do something like that, be like a house engineer and just kind of work my way up or whatever.
Right.
And I like had just hit up, I think probably hit you. I just hit everybody up when I was moving out here, and I was like, "Yo, I'm like moving out here," and so I had a couple people who were like, "Yeah, you record our band." I was doing like Kevin Klein was in some other band after Graf Orlock, and tracked them in Dez's house in Garden Grove.
Nice.
And then that dude Aaron Edge, remember that guy?
Yeah. I remember the name. Okay.
He was working at Southern Lord at the time, and we were recording some shit at Southern Lord. But we rewind a little bit to the good story, like leading up to that. So it was like December in Louisville, and it was fucking cold. We were supposed to have gone back to Europe, and it was like going to be the best tour we were doing. We're going to make money. And then Eric had like Oxycontin freak out.
Right, that's right.
And then like that kind of fell apart. And I was like thinking, I was like, do I try to get like a fill in? It was literally like 2 weeks before we were supposed to leave.
Yeah.
And there was like a couple of guys that were like, well, there was a bunch of people that wanted to do it, and maybe like one guy that maybe play the songs.
Yeah, dude, for the people that didn't know, that band, I've been going through like a Louisville like rehash lately, and dude, I mean, that fucking Swords record, the first record is so good, you know what I mean? But that Swords record, man, I can't stop listening to it. I've listened to it like for a week straight.
Lottery will get you everywhere.
Chaos, dude. That fucking record is pure chaos. I couldn't even.
It's because I don't know. I don't know anything about music. That's the thing.
Yeah, me neither,
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just like, fingers here, cool. And
well, dude, I remember like we played with you guys. What did we play? It was obviously early 2000s at some point. I think the first record had just come out, and I was in my old band. I think Ox. I don't think Wrath was even started.
Ox versus Thunderbird.
Yeah, and I remember seeing you guys. Well, first I remember hearing the first record, and I thought this has to be a 6-piece band. I mean, there's no way it's not. I don't know how you could play. I thought there was at least a straight singer and then like 2 guitar players, you know, when you listen to the record. And then you guys show up and you're a fucking 3-piece, you know, and more amps than God, and it's shit stereoing, and you know, it's just chaos, dude. And I thought, oh, these guys just set a new fucking bar for me, you know what I mean? And I was so like stoked, you know, because I always said it sounded like Rollins' Black Flag on 45 with some fucking Thin Lizzy in there somehow, you know what I mean? It was or Suicidal, you know what I mean? Yeah. It was just so crazy, you know, and I've just been listening to that shit, and you know, and then every record that came out after that was like even fucking crazier, dude. And I just don't. I'm like, I was like listening to the riffs, and I'm like, I don't even think I could play it. Like, you know what I mean? I can get along, you know, but the shit was just so wild back in the day, man. Like, do you have fond memories of those times back in Louisville and stuff before you upped and split?
Well, I have fond memories of those times, but not necessarily about Louisville in those times.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like, yeah. It was just like, you know, like obviously like the early days of Lords and just touring was awesome. And like,
right.
The ultimate thing is, I was getting at sort of like as to why I ended up moving is like, I reached this point where I was just like, I had to be on tour no matter what. And like, and it was like, and at first I was like, you think, oh, it's because I love playing music and I love going on tour. Mm-hmm. But then I sort of realized I was like, that wasn't actually it. Like touring in a punk band, especially when you start to get a certain age, is like kind of stops being fun. And it was a lot of work, and you're just like,
it's a grind,
you're working a lot and you're not getting paid basically. And like, if you were to do the math about your hourly rate for, you know, to be in a punk band, you know, like
you're in
I don't know where you would end with that. Yeah. It's like, it's
don't do the math.
It's depressing. And like,
it can be.
And I was just like, why am I doing this? And then I kind of I was like, oh, you know what? I'm doing this. The band, I'm forcing this band to happen because I have to go on tour, and I have to go on tour because I hate staying in Louisville.
Oh, okay.
And this is my only way to get out.
Right.
And like,
Are you
And,
from
that was, like,
Louisville?
my
Are you like born there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Born and raised.
So you got that
And,
hometown, I need to get the fuck out of here feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's also Louisville's like, I mean, to be honest, it's a fucking shitty, depressing place. Like everyone's dead. Like
A lot of people
lots of
have
heroin
passed.
overdoses. Yeah. It's like there's a lot of like cool people. There's some good musicians there. There's just no real outlet for it. So everyone's an alcoholic, drug addict, and depressed. They leave, and that's pretty much it. You know.
Yeah.
Or they're like into whack ass all country shit that I don't fuck with. So.
Yeah, but I mean, you were recording. I mean, you know, you were recording your own stuff, and you were recording a ton of bands, right? So, I mean, you obviously could have stayed there and slogged it out and made some sort of like
yeah. I mean, I could have stayed there forever.
Yourself, you know?
Yeah, I could have stayed there forever, but it was sort of right time I was with the band stuff. It was like I just had this thing. I was like, what am I doing? And it sort of kicked this whole other full life thing going on. And also you realize that like you start looking around and you're like, what's the most I'm ever going to be able to do in this place? And it's not very much. And like, you're like, can I like continue to record weird, obscure punk bands like for the rest of my life when my rent is like $250 a month? Sure. Like, but you can't like really like live like an adult and continue to do that, you know? And like, and it was sort of a thing where it was like, do I double down and just like go all in on this one venture, or do I just get the fuck out? I was like at the crossroads there, and I chose to get the fuck out, and I'm infinitely better off because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I see the pictures of the studio builds that you're doing and stuff like that. It's like, fuck, man, it looks, I mean, the shit looks incredible. Obviously, you know what you're doing. I mean, it's, and then, so when you started, like, you get to LA, right? And then you start, you know, doing whatever you're doing out there. You have some sort of background in carpentry and all that shit, obviously. I mean, you know how to build shit.
Not really. I lied.
Nice.
That's how it happened. I lied.
That's how punks do it, man.
So
fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So what I was a quick rewind. So rewind back to like I was having my like quarter life crisis, third life crisis, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was winter. I fucking hate winter. I was just like, what do I want? Like, I was like, am I happy? No, I'm not happy. What do I want to be happy? And everything before had always, my entire existence revolved around making the band happen. Like everything from the minute I got up to the minute I passed out, it was everything that I did was to make that one thing become a reality. And I was like, this is not making me happy anymore. And I was like, well, think about it in really simplistic terms. I was cold. It was fucking winter. I was like, well, I want to not be cold ever again. And I'm like, I never want to see snow again, ever.
In your life.
And I'm like, okay, that's one thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what else? I was like, I want money. I want to never be broke again, ever. And like, I'm like, okay, cool. So that's two things. You want to be warm and not broke. And I mean, obviously there's kind of like, for me, like it's LA is the only place to, or the first place to start anyway. I think at one point I was like, maybe Miami. And like, I hit like Torch Dudes up and just asking them, I was like, yeah, you guys like, you know, like John has a studio there. And I was like, I think I'd hit him up and was like maybe talking about moving there. And they were like, no, don't fucking move to Miami. It's gonna be terrible. Yeah. But
and look, aren't they all here now anyway? I mean, most weren't they here for a while?
They had come and yeah, I think John was here for a while. Steve was here. I think Steve's in Portland now. John did move back to Miami. Yeah, anyway, I knew I wanted to come here. I didn't really have a solid plan. I was just like, I'm going to figure it out. So this was in December, and I basically had 3 months, and I had a bunch of like credit card debt and shit. And I was like, well, in 3 months span of time, I want to pay off all of my debt. I want to get a new vehicle and have like $4 or $5 grand in my pocket. So I did this. I don't even believe how I made this stuff happen, but I just like the most intense, insane hustle. And I got a Craigslist gig section and ended up in some total weird shit. I made $5,000 selling used carpet because I had this hustle where a friend of mine had this company that set up like tables and chairs and pipe and drape for events at the fairgrounds and stuff. And I was helping him out with some stuff just for cash under the table. And then like they had this carpet and they were getting done with like the car show or whatever. And it was all the carpet from the booths. And he was like, if you want to see carpet, you could take it. And I was like, oh, really? And I'm like, what's going to happen to it? There's a shitload of carpet here. And he was like, yeah, he's like, well, if somebody doesn't take it, I got to pay for the dumpster to pick it up. And I was like, you got to pay for this. It's like, it's only been out like 2 days. It's like basically brand new carpet. Like, why don't you try to sell it? And he was like, who the fuck's going to buy used carpet? And I'm like,
Everyone.
I don't know. Let me find out. So I went and I got the trailer, the Lord's trailer in the van and drove it up there and got as much carpet as I could possibly take, put it all on Craigslist, sold every fucking bit of it. And then I kept doing this. And I got hooked up with this woman who was basically a slumlord and had all these shitty apartments. And she was just buying everything I could get. She was buying it. And it's like, it was shitty carpet, but it was like $1 a square foot. And I was just flipping it for like 50 cents a square foot, but for free. So it didn't matter. And I would just take it back to the house I was living in, roll it out in the garage, vacuum it, and then fucking put it back up. And I like made about $5,000 selling used carpet until he found out I was making money. Then he stopped letting me do it.
And now he wants a cut, dude.
Yeah. It was like, fuck that. So I did that. I did surveillance for a private detective.
Really?
That I met on Craigslist. Yeah.
Wow.
I met a private detective on Craigslist. It was a very like ominous, like cryptic ad that was like looking for someone discreet who knows digital photography and word processing. And it was like $250. It was like approximately 20 minutes of work. I'm like, fucking A, I'm in. So I took the guy back and there's just like an exchange.
Yo, even if this guy fucks me, it's still worth it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's not a bad deal.
I mean, hey, you know.
Yeah. And and this whole cycle of events, that's not the first time I had that thought.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, not the last time. So anyway, I hit him back. He ends up making me sign an NDA. And it's very non-glamorous, non-exciting surveillance work. I was basically a narc for sports bars that were stealing pay-per-view MMA and boxing.
Really? Okay.
And but it was like you just walk into a bar, you get some video of them showing the fight, and you get some pictures of stuff, and then send them that and fill out an affidavit, and he sends you like between 150 and $300 per place that you go. And like, so I made like a few grand doing that. I actually still did that for a while in LA when I first moved here.
Yeah.
And it was one of the last times I did it was actually the more ridiculous. It was this, I don't remember what fight it was, some pay-per-view thing. And there's a spot in Glendale, and he went there and he was like, if you can get up on the roof and get a picture of the satellite dish, it's extra $100. I'm like, okay, fucking A. So like I get out there and I like do my thing, and I had a trick where I just wear a shirt has a pocket in the front, and you just like put your phone in the pocket and you walk around and like look, the thing. And like, you know, video. And also it doesn't even matter anymore. This was like 2011.
Right.
But like even then, but especially like nowadays, anybody can do it. Just, everyone has their phones anyway, no one cares. But do that. And then I was like, okay, I got to get up to the roof. I want this extra fucking $100. So I go up and like, I couldn't see any way to get up on the roof, but there's an apartment building next door. So I go around to the back, and you couldn't really get up there, but there was like a chain link fence. I was like, if I climb to the top of the fence, I think I can probably like fucking Spider-Man shit and grab this ledge and then pull myself up and then get around the corner. And then there was like a fucking pipe that went across this alley, and I could Mission Impossible, like do my thing across this pipe to get up there to get $100.
$100? You're going to fall off a building for $100?
I scale the back of this building. I break into this thing, and I'm going there. I'm like dodging a security guard. I crawl this fucking pipe across the alley, get in the top of this to get up there to get a picture of the fucking thing to get an extra $100. And I did it. And
nice.
But, yeah. So I was doing that. Then one of the last things in Louisville I did, well, you know, like my studio there, I had 2 different spots, and I had like kind of built some stuff for them. Like not really though.
Mm-hmm.
And like the very first one was this like terrible shitty warehouse loft, and my cousin had helped me gut it and everything, put some doors up and did some shit, but really they did most of the work, and I just kind of was like, oh, what are you doing? Cool. And then I had answered another Craigslist ad for a guy in Louisville that was like, I got this digital Tascam recorder and I don't know how to use it. I'll pay somebody if you can teach me how to use it. And I was just like, fucking hey, I'll figure that shit out. So I hit him back and I'm like, yo, I can teach you how to use it. And he was like, okay, what's your rate? And I was like, $30.
Yeah,
I thought that was like that's what it was worth. And then like he was like, great, you're hired.
that was your value at that moment.
Yeah. And well, this is like coming out of a punk band.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, teach this guy how to use a thing, $30, fucking A.
Yeah.
And,
it's part of that punk rock guilt that fucking lingers over us.
Yeah, I know.
It's like we're all ex-Catholics or something, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you devalue your worth just for the sake of punk rock for a long time, you know?
Yeah. So I go this guy's house, and he's got this barn in the back, and on this there's a second floor, and there's a loft, and he has made it into be this like venue, and there's like theater seats and a bar and a stage and everything. And I get up there, and he's got this recorder, and he's talking to me about it. It's just like older white dude, and the thing is, he's got a band called Barn Jovi. And Barn Jovi is all of these old white dudes, and they were going to have a concert for their friends and play fucking Mustang Sally or whatever and all the shit. And they wanted to record it and then put out a CD.
Of course.
And I'm like, of course, because why not?
Yeah.
And anyway, like, so I go up there and I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let me see this thing here. Where's the manual? And I'm basically just like reading the manual of this guy. I'm like, okay, well, you arm the track and you press the button that's the number of the track, and then you press record, and then it starts recording, and you plug the mic into the input, and the basic stuff. And he's like, it had been like maybe 20, 30 minutes. And he's like, you know what? That's kind of all I can really like process for. He's like, you want a beer or something, or some whiskey, and I'm like, no, man, I'm good. He's like, well, I got this new Robin Trower DVD. And I'm like, no, man, I'm good. He's like, oh, really? It's Robin Trower live. Oh, man, let me tell you, it's really good. Like, I mean, I can make you another drink. You want. And I'm like, okay, where's this going? And so he was like, well, that's just really, I tell you what, can you come back another day and we can pick this up again? And I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. And he was like, well, here, let me cut you a check. And he gives me a check for $75. And I was just like, oh. And he's like, well, I know what you said. It was $30 an hour, which is not even what I said, because I was just going to do it for $30.
$30?
That was just like, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was going to do.
Fucking thank you, Barn Jovi. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So he gives me a check for $75. He's like, hey, can you come back on Wednesday? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. And then I come back on Wednesday, and it's exactly a repeat. We're like, go over stuff for literally maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes, not very long at all. And then he just wants to like have a beer and talk and watch the Robin Trower DVD, which he brings up again. And I'm like, okay, is this going somewhere weird? Is this going to turn into, is this guy trying to fuck me? Like, you know what I mean? I know I'm good looking and cute. Like,
obviously.
And then I'm like, see, $75, 15 minutes. Like, where's the number here that's going to make it worthwhile?
Right.
But then, like, basically through the course of this, figured out that the dude had a stroke. His wife died. He had a stroke, and he's this like retired partner at a law firm. So he has shitloads of money, and he remembers how to do like everything he ever knew how to do before the stroke. But like he can't process new information, and he can only learn things in like really, really short increments. So that's why it's like we'd learn like one task, like arm a track, and then like if it got to like the second task, he like couldn't retain it. So he just I had to get back there really slow. And then at a certain point I was like, man, you're like way overpaying me. And he was just like, I don't care. He's like, I've got the money. I was like, money's not an issue for me. And you know what you're doing, and you're helping me out, and I trust you, and I'd rather just pay you to come here and do this. And this is what it's worth to me. I don't care. It's like, I'd rather pay you more to have you be available to come here and help and keep helping me. And I'm like, all right, cool. So ended up working this stuff with this guy, and over the course of a couple of months, and actually get him this whole recording set up. They get to their big concert, the Bon Jovi concert. They drew it. I go there for the Bon Jovi concert. We help them track everything. I mix it for them. And then there's the guitar player in his band in Bon Jovi. Also had just bought a house. He inherited like $41 million and had bought a house and didn't like the house, but liked the property. So tore it down, and then was having these Amish people rebuild a new house for him and wanted a studio in the house. And I was already like, had sessions booked in LA that I was coming here to do. And I was like, this was like about a month before I was actually planning on moving. And he was like, yeah, so I really could use like a consultant to like help me build the studio. And I'm like, to be honest, like at the time, like I knew like this much about stuff, and like I knew what things were supposed to be.
Right.
More so than I actually knew how to do it. So anyway, I just started like fucking looking up a bunch of stuff and doing a bunch of homework and research, and like bought some books and stuff. I was like, I'm figuring all this stuff out. And then was working with the Amish guys that were building his spot to tell them how to build everything and do it.
Okay.
Which was also kind of wild too.
Yeah.
There's literally a bunch of dudes in like homemade overalls fucking building this studio.
How to do dovetails and like all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Wow. They were like, well, we can use power tools now, but only one person can have a cell phone, and we keep that locked away in the shed, except when we need it. And like, we're like, okay. But kind of get through that. And then we were getting into sort of, that was mostly wrapped up, and we're into kind of like the acoustic treatment part of it. And I was like, you should really do this. And he is like, which actually like a lot of people are, they were like, well, what's that? And I'm like, well, this is actually like a huge part of making your room not sound like trash.
Right. It's like one of the more important things, right?
And it's also like, and this is also, again, this is like 2011. And actually a lot has changed since then, as far as like in the studio. That's something that people understand more about now than they did then, even. But I was like, yeah, no, you got to do this stuff. So I like got some shit, and I had made him some panels, and I like did his control room. And this is like a multi-room studio facility and all this other stuff. And you had like a pretty big tracking room, several booths, pretty big. It was like, I don't know, maybe like 1,500 square feet.
Big room.
Decent sized spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we do the control room, and I was supposed to leave in 5 days. And he was like, this is amazing. Holy shit. You're right. Everything is like, we have to do the whole place. And I was like, fuck. He was like, can you do it? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I literally didn't sleep for 5 days. I had a bunch of Adderall. I had a friend that had narcolepsy, and she gave me some of her anti-narcolepsy medicine. It was like a fucking meth binge, but I was literally stayed awake for 5 days.
For 5 days straight?
The shop set up in the living room of the house. I was like, maybe kind of close my eyes for an hour or two a night, but I was doing like never less than an 18-hour day, like 18 to 22 hours typically. But I finished building all of this treatment by myself and got everything installed, and to get like another several $1,000s off of it, which was great. Fund everything. Drove 32 hours straight to LA without stopping. And I was staying, Sam was living with our friend Brooke in Los Feliz. And Lord had stayed at her house before. I pull in to the fucking Albertsons in Hillhurst, and I have like the trailer and like Chevy SUV, and it was like crashing. And I was just like, oh my God. Because it's like, you're just like running on pure adrenaline and amphetamines basically.
Right.
For like 8 days, basically, more or less.
That's a bender, dude.
Yeah. And come here and and also in the course of this, I was like, Sam Feldy was like, oh, well, since you're moving here, he's like, I think he maybe had seen me build something, or I'd posted a picture or something. I don't remember what it was. That, and he was like, oh, so you can build stuff. I've got a friend who's a general contractor, and he needs a hand. He needs an extra set of hands if you like want to have something else. And I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it is now one of my best friends, Chad. But I hit him up while I was juggling all this other stuff, building these things, had these recording sessions booked, and then he was like, great. He was like, and I think it was like the week when I was before I was supposed to leave, right when he gave me all this other work, and he was like, well, cool, can you start tomorrow? I was like, well, I'm not going to get there till next week. And he's like, oh, fuck, well, I need somebody like right now. And I'm like, I'll be there in a week. And he was like, okay, I'll wait a week.
Mm.
So anyway, I was like, fuck, marathon through all this shit, drive straight here. I'm at the Albertsons parking lot. I'm literally delirious. Sam's like out watching a movie. He's like, oh, come meet me at this bar. And I'm like, no, I just want to sleep.
Dude, just please.
So
was this when Sam was in his prime too?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So this is for everyone that doesn't know, this is the singer of Night Horse. Sam.
Yeah.
Bluebird, right? He was in
yeah. So I hit up my other friend Laurel Stearns. So Laurel's actually my oldest friend from LA.
Oh, okay.
And I was like just delirious, and I was like, I don't want to fall asleep in this deep sleep and pass out in this fucking Albertsons parking lot, and who knows what happened then. So I called Laurel, and I'm like, Laurel, I've just got into town. I was like, what's going on? I was like, can I maybe come take a nap on your couch or something? Literally, I'm dying. And she's like, oh, well, yeah. So I'm having a gathering. It was going to be only witches, but I think there might be a wizard coming too. So it should probably be okay if you want to roll by. If do you want to come by? And I'm like, absolutely. So I got this
welcome to LA
20,000th win, and I go to Lord, I'm driving the trailer and all this shit, like go over to her house, and right behind Louisville, and I go park. And I walk in, and there's this like harem of women that are all like high functioning professionals, okay? Mm-hmm. And like respectable people, like this one lady was an NPR reporter, and like there are other people in music management. They're like, mm-hmm. They're not full on kooks, okay? Mm-hmm. And then there's this dude, and the dude like had like long flowing blonde hair and this like ruffly shirt, and like fucking talismans and shit on, and like all this stuff. And like right when I walk in, this like all these women are like semicircled around him. He's telling this story, and I walk in the door, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And the guy is talking about how he does like spiritual cleansings of spaces. Okay. And he had these clients. This is what he does for money. People pay him money to do this. And these clients of his had, they were remodeling their kitchen, and shit kept going wrong. And they were like, oh, like things were happening. Like there's a problem with the contractor and the permits and the city, and everything was going wrong, and they couldn't remodel their kitchen. Clearly, the issue is supernatural.
Obviously.
So they hire this guy to come, does a ceremony, and he burns some sage and says a chant, does whatever he's fucking doing, and determines that there's like a Indian burial ground. It was like not even. It was like not even original. It was like, what, really? Like you just went there.
It's like. And so let me ask you a question: are you by a cemetery? No. Yeah. Oh my God, we are by a cemetery. LA's a fucking cemetery.
So he determines that there's a ghost in the house, and that the ghost is upset about the kitchen remodel.
Oh.
Because why wouldn't he be?
Obviously.
He was like, Formica countertops, fuck you. Like,
you're not gonna get granite, you cheap fuck.
Yeah. So the ghost was upset, and then they do a ceremony, and then they have this communion with the ghost to get permission to finish the remodel of the kitchen and all this other stuff. And he's going to this thing, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And all of these women that are there, they're all like And then what? Yes. Wow. And Craig, man, like from my entire upbringing, man, like, and from like south end of Louisville, like being into punk, and like got into punk because I think it wasn't like a fuck you dad thing. It was just because like I was like I couldn't actually play an instrument. I wasn't good at metal. I wasn't like good at music. I was like in the punk, and then I'm like, you don't have money, and it's like you don't need money, and like these people, I hear these like Black Flag, and I hear this shit. And I was like, this is like a reflection of my life. This is like that's why I gravitate to this, because these are 100%. Ideas, and this is an existence that I'm already living.
It's tangible. You know what I mean? You can do with that. Yeah.
So anyway, you're in this whole thing, and my whole life I was just like, I could never be rich. I just couldn't see. I couldn't ever fathom how I could ever be rich until that one moment. And when I see this guy in Laurel's fucking kitchen with this like circle of like women, like successful people, and he's like selling them on this fucking Indian burial ground kitchen remodel, fucking sage burning ceremony. And at that moment, Craig, that was the first time in my life where I was like, I can be rich.
I can own this town.
This is the place it will happen.
Yeah, totally.
I have found my place in the world.
Welcome to the land of rich fucking suckers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Crazy, man.
Not that my clients are rich suckers.
No, but you know,
edit that
but
part
you see that, dude. Yeah. I mean, LA is chock full of that shit. You know, you're like, I've been in so many conversations where I'm like, I kind of want to jump out the window, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you guys really had, like, this is what you guys talk about? Like, are you guys, where's the hidden cameras? Like, are you guys fucking with me? You know what I mean? Like, is this a real fucking conversation? We're talking about goat yoga and like, you know, like what is this? You know, like what the fuck is this? You know, I've done it so many times in that town, and you know, that's why I keep my ass over here somewhat grounded. You know what I mean? Because I can't. My bullshit meter is like very thin, and I just don't have it. You know what I mean? But for you to be able to see that moment and capitalize and be like, this is possible. You know what I mean? That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's that punk rock shit.
The first time
that, you know what I mean? Like finding that fucking niche for yourself. You know?
Yeah. Well, there's like a deeper philosophical thing that I had that I think like maybe relevant to talk about, because especially like a lot of our peers and friends as you get older and you're like in this world, and then that world stops to be viable for you, and they're like, fuck, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was like, I had always had this rigid idea of what I was and what I was going to do. And I was like, I am Chris Owens. I am a producer, a fucking punk producer. And I played this band. Mm-hmm. And I like, this is what I do and who I am. Yeah. And instead of having this, I was like, you know what? I don't know. I was like, I went back to like, what do I want to be? What do I want? I was like, I want to be warm and fucking like not broke.
Not poor. Yeah.
So, okay. So then how do I find out the way to achieve those things, doing the thing that I like the most out of my options, you know?
Right.
And then you don't have to, I just kind of started doing all kinds of different shit through my head around. So I was recording some bands out here, and then I started working for Chad, like right out the gate. Like that was a Saturday night when all that shit happened. Monday morning, I was on a job installing a hardwood floor and no idea what the fuck I was doing.
Right.
And there was this guy that was sort of like Chad's like foreman at the time. And a few months later, very ironically, he would end up working for me.
Nice.
But we go in, I was like mortified, I had no idea what I was doing. And it's just like, hey, sure, you know how to do hardwood floors, right? Yeah, sure. And I'm like, absolutely, definitely, totally.
Totally, no problem.
Well, I mean, like, I know like how we did it in Kentucky. So like, you know, like, I don't know, maybe you guys have some like tricks here I should know about. Like, you know, it's just like, you know, and you say, oh yeah, well, sure. Well, like, this is how I usually, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I got it. And I just literally,
yeah,
and just started doing it. And fortuitously, I was good at it really quickly. And then just started to pick things up really quickly. And I found out that I had an aptitude for things that I never knew I did. And I wasn't ever like, into like the actual physical construction part. I was like, oh, I am good at this thing. I don't really love doing it, but I'm actually making more money doing this than I am recording weird punk bands.
Oh yeah, 100%, dude.
And I get to see the sun. You know,
like and you're not driving 15 hours in between a fucking show just to do it, you know?
Yeah. And there's like, so all this stuff, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And it was just like, and it was also like this stability kind of thing that I had not had as an adult. And that I was like, oh, this is just a different thing. And like, did this sort of 180 for life. And, you know, just like waking up at 7:30 in the morning and seeing the sun, having a fucking cup of coffee, you know, like going outside, being like out in the day in the sunlight, doing shit. And then it's like 4 or 5 p.m. and you're like pretty much done. And you're like, oh, and I have like the rest of this day what I want to do. And like, wow, what's this like? And you're not like, and then also just like even being the transition to being physically active instead of like, you know, my other life was like in a dark room, sitting in a chair, like pressing buttons and turning knobs and like listening to Tom hits and like over and over and over and over again, 90% of the time for music that you don't actually like.
Right.
And I was like, damn, that's. And at first I was always like thinking about, oh, this is just something I'm going to do. And I'm going to transition back into music. I'm just going to make some extra cash for like a month or two until then something else comes along. And then like, I think it was only about 2 months in, Chad gets offered to do a home studio. And he was like, you know, I don't actually know anything about that. You're like a music dude. It's kind of like your gig, like your thing. Like, do you just want to take the job? It's my friend from high school. It's like a shoestring budget. It's only $10,000. And at the time, again, like 2 months in LA, coming from Louisville to 2011, I'm like, $10,000.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. Don't worry that it's like, going to take 1,000 man hours.
Yeah, you know? It should have been $110,000.
Probably, yeah, that sounds about right.
But I was like, $10,000. So I go to this spot and look at it, and I was like, oh, it's Chris. And it's like, yeah, Chad sent me. I'm like, you know, you're gonna take over the thing. I was like, you look familiar. He's like, you look familiar. He's like, you play music? And I was like, yeah, I was playing this band called Lords. And he was like, oh, this band Crom, and it was Phil Vera.
And shit! Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck, wait. I realized I was like, dude. Yeah, like Lords and Crom had played together a couple of times. Yeah. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, dude. So I did Phil's studio, and like Adam Greenwood, the bass player for Lords, had also just moved to LA. He shortly after I did. He was out here trying to pursue his comedy career. And he was on unemployment from Kentucky. And I was, you know, I could use an extra set of hands doing this, working on Phil's thing. And he was like, cool, man. And he was like, there's like not a lot of money. He's like, I'll give you $40 a day. And he was like, can you at least pay me $50 a day? I was like, no.
Not in the budget here.
And I mean, honestly, $40 a day is more than I made off the job, in hindsight. But like,
oh yeah.
But I was like, so Adam Green was helping me for a little bit, Phil, and then Phil's friend like Kurt came in, he helped a little bit, and we kind of all just like built the spot, and it worked out. But I was in the middle of doing that, and I go to this party, meet this girl, I go home with this girl, and I'm at her house and like meet a roommate. And her roommate's like, oh, so what do you do? And I was like, well, right now I'm building this recording studio. She was like, oh, I'm a hairstylist. I'm like, cool. Of course you are. Then a couple days later, I get a phone call. It's a number I don't know. And I pick it up. I'm like, hello. And they're like, is this Chris Owens? I was like, yeah. And they were like, do you build recording studios? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yes,
like, yeah, I got your number from my hairstylist. And so, do you know how to do a 5.1 mix room and screening room? And I was like, absolutely. And I go to this guy's spot to check it out. And he is he's got this group of dudes, and they're just starting this sort of film production company in this spot in Atwater. And there was another guy there that was also giving a bid on the spot. And the other dude was like, this is like, at very least, like bottom of the barrel, 25 grand. And they were like, fuck, we don't have 25 grand. And I'm like, how much money do you have? And they were like, we have $5,000. And like, and there's like, but there's 5 of us and we will all work. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, let me see what I can do.
Yeah.
And they were just like, it doesn't have to be like awesome. It just needs to be like better than nothing.
Functional. Yeah.
And like, I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. So I'm also in my supreme Craigslist hustle phase at the time.
Yeah. And
I find some dudes on Craigslist that are absolutely selling stolen fucking shit that like came off of a truck, and like it was like $6 a sheet for some fucking like 4x12 fucking 5/8 drywall, and I'm like, and anyway, I like find out this shit, and it's like kick some green glue online. I'm like, it's basically $3,000 for materials, and I was like, okay, here's the deal, guys. For the very bottom of the barrel things, it's going to be $3 grand for materials. You get me and the tools that I have for 2 weeks, and we work all day, every day. And you all 5 have to work. And at the end of 2 weeks, either we get it done, or we get it to as far as it gets and you finish it on yourself, or you pay me more money.
Right.
And they were like, okay, cool. So we did it, and we just worked like fucking, again, like 15, 17 hours a day, all 5 of us, and for 2 weeks and 7 days a week, and banged it out, and we got it done. And it turned out way cooler than it should have for what it cost.
Right.
And the dude that I basically outbid had a company, Pro Audio LA, that he worked for, and they sold him gear, and they were actually in the same complex. And he came down because he bought some gear from him. He was like, how the fuck did you do this for $5 grand?
Right.
So then they started hiring me to do builds for their clients. And then right around that same period of time, another one of my good friends from Louisville was a writer for Diplo. And they had both just moved to LA from Philly, like right around the same time I did. And he had a spot, Diplo's first spot in Atwater. And then, so this was happening. So then my homie was like, oh, so you're like building studios now? I was like, I guess I am.
He was like, according to the 2 I've done, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah. And he was like, well, fucking like, you know, like this is like room is like fucking dog shit. I can't mix in here. I just need some treatment. It needs to look cool. And I'm like, great, cool. And so they end up like hiring me to do like some treatment for the first room. So I did that. And then I started doing shit for like, they ended up doing several other rooms in this complex. And then I was doing other shit for the other guy. And then it was just from those 2 sort of things. And then just like everything just branched out.
Snowballing out. Yeah.
Just snowballed from there.
That's great.
And
I mean, it's so fucking cool that, you being able to find your little niche that fast. I mean, because think of how many people come to this fucking town and wallow for years, you know what I mean, trying to fucking figure something out, you know what I mean? But when it comes like from the background you were from and the background I'm from, where your only option is to figure it out or starve to death, you know what I mean? That's that type of shit that makes you move, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is really like a sink or swim thing. I have no like fallback. Like there is absolutely nothing for me that I don't make myself. Like I don't have anything. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And
that's how I was, when the Wrath is going, like we were at a point where it was either shit or get off the pot. We were going to tour 9 months out of the fucking year. I got 2 kids. I'm coming home with $0 and I'm, you know what I mean? And like, I luckily reached out to my old man for the first time in my life and asked him to I need a job. And you know what I mean? I want to get in the union. I did it, man. And you get those first few paychecks under your belt, and all that punk rock guilt just melts right away, dude. You're like, dude, I'm making a fucking $1,000 a week. I could do, you know what I mean? I could do this shit. And then what I found is like, I found real love for the actual work. I didn't want to do it, you know what I mean? But I found love for the work because building shit that potentially lasts hundreds of years, or years and years and years, it's fucking gratifying. I was building roads and bridges and freeways and shit. And I fucking love the work. I mean, it's, and then not only that, having that same punk rock background, I moved up to a superintendent in 10 years in the construction industry. You know what I mean? And that's a 25-year fucking career trajectory. But it's because I was willing to take a chance on myself. And when someone asks me to do something, I tell them fucking yeah, I'll try it. You know what I mean? And then own it, and then own it when I fuck it up. You know what I mean? Because booking shows and tours, it's like 6 weeks on the road and fucking half of the shows fall through. And the only finger you can really point is like at yourself. You know what I mean? Like that shit teaches you some hard lessons. You know what I mean? And I just love that fucking shit where people really just take that fucking exact mentality and use it towards other stuff, and they're able to flourish. I mean, it's so, I wish more people had that, but they're just don't. Yeah, they just fucking don't.
Yeah. Well, there is a thing, like a certain kind of trait or quality that one of the absolutely, it's like the maybe it's like a PTSD or flight mode kind of thing that you're just accustomed to. So you're like, well, this is the thing. We just have to get this, like, failure is not an option.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's just like, you have to, like, when one thing doesn't work, you figure something else out. Like, and again, like that's being on tour. Like, I was also like half the time on tour, I was like learning to be a fucking mechanic and like, like figuring out how to like, fix the van. Like I did all kinds of like crazy shit. We had to, like, I don't even, well, this is a whole other interview. Just like how many times I had to do some like insane van hack to actually get to a show.
Rigging. Yeah, I mean, but, we've all rolled in on fumes and low tires and being broke down in the middle of the night. I mean, I remember the day I realized that no one in my band knew how to change a tire. I was like, oh, what? Are you guys fucking serious, dude? Like, I was all, get out. Everyone, hey, 3 a.m. Guess what we're doing today? We're learning how to change a fucking tire so I don't have to get woke up every 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Or you guys don't know how to parallel park a van with a trailer. Oh, that's fucking interesting. Or like, you're not even sure where the oil goes in. You know what I mean? Like and I'm no mechanic, but you just, the shit you figure out on the road is insane, dude. I mean, because you're 3,000 miles away or across, God forbid, across the fucking world, and it's like.
Exactly. And
I don't know, man.
And you don't have money. It's the thing is like, well, this is, there, we're gonna figure this out.
This is it, man.
What's sort of like that, that whole mentality, spending like basically 15 years of my life doing that.
Right.
And like before I moved here, and it's like, I was already just integrated. That's just a daily thing. You're like, well, now we have to figure this out. And now we have to, and it's always like something new, a new challenge, new problem. And your brain just gets used to work that way. But it's also like a psychological thing too, an attitude thing. And that's too, it's like, the people that come here and succeed versus the people that come here and founder or fail. And I think one of the things is that I think it's like the trick is outward confidence and inner terror.
Yeah,
like,
that totally makes sense. Yeah.
You have to be like, when someone asks you to do something, you're like, fuck yeah, I can do that. Absolutely. And then inside, I'm like, fuck, how am I gonna do that? Fuck, holy shit, how am I gonna do that? Fuck. But then I frantically behind the scenes in hiding where no one will ever see me, like just do this maniacal, like not sleeping for days at a time until I figure out how to do it. Because I made this promise. That's like a really fancy word for exaggeration or maybe a lie. But anyway, I have to deliver on that. And if you deliver on it, if you deliver on the lie, it doesn't matter if it was a lie. And there's actually like, I guess a very tactful way of phrasing that. There's this band King Horse from Louisville. I don't know if you know anything about that band. There was like two things, like in like early 90s when I was getting into shit. You had like Endpoint and King Horse. And those are just like the two schools of it. And of course, Endpoint was like the rich hardcore kids. And King Horse was like all the fucked up kids. and like Danzig produced the record. They had one record out in Caroline, but
Okay.
I remember being King Horse show, and there was like singer Sean said in a very different context, but he's like, I have become the thing that I once pretended to be. And when I heard that, it sort of resonated, and I realized like, okay, I think one of the tricks to success is always be in the process of becoming the thing that you're pretending to be.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you then pretend to be something better until you also hit that.
Mm-hmm.
And
you can do that without an insane ego, and you can do that. You know what I mean? Like, because when people say shit like that,
the
like
trick
a
is
Tony Robbins thing.
Yeah.
You know, you go,
yeah.
you sound like an asshole, but like, it is possible to do that and carry yourself with confidence without being a fucking nightmare human. You know what I mean? And that's the line.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the people that fail are the people who believe their own bullshit.
Right.
And that's the thing, is like the people who are like outwardly like, fuck yeah, I got this. And then internally they're also, fuck yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that usually fail because they don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then there's a third thing, sort of like the exact inverse of me, that is like this negating thing that is actually like really prevalent in Louisville, especially in the music community, which is fake humility, outward humility, but inside they're like, oh, you know, that's really like, oh, I'm not really, you know, it's really nice of you to like think of me for something, but I just really like, you know, I don't know, you know, maybe like, and they're like this fake like humble shit, but then on the inside they're like, fuck yeah, I'm so fucking good,
stroking,
man,
just stroking.
I can make all these noises with an EBO because I'm a fucking artist.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck off.
I'm into dark art, bro.
I'm fucking deep and moody and existential,
and that's everywhere though, bro. I mean, you see that shit everywhere. That's not unique to fucking Louisville.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think you know, to have the confidence to try, but you're like you said, the internal terror to, oh my god, I have to figure this out is the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you do see someone that's an arrogant moron, like, you know what I mean, and you're like, you don't even, what are you doing, man? Like, you have no fucking idea. It's like nothing worse than someone that tells you, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. And you're like, yeah, but obviously you don't. Like, I mean, you know, it's like, yeah, I do. It's like, you don't, dude. You don't know how. I can see in 5 fucking seconds you have no idea what you're doing. You know, it's true. And like, especially in like building shit, you know, you can see if someone knows what they're doing. Like the way they pull a nail out of a bag, you're like, no, you're not doing it, man.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, it's so funny, man.
In the construction world, there's a whole phenomenon thing, like it sort of more recently, like a few years ago when we were in a space, like it kind of got mixed up with some of the art department people. And talk about people that think that they know what they're doing, but like don't. The delusions of grandeur that run so rampant in the fucking like set building world, compared to like real construction. And like the kind of construction I do is like not real compared to, say, for like what you do, you're building fucking roads and actual infrastructure and shit like that.
Sure.
And like, but yeah, guys that are like, you know, yeah, my rate's like, you know, like generally like 40 to 65 an hour. And then you're like, okay, great. And they're like, yeah, I'm a master fucking carpenter or whatever. And then you show up.
That's the worst, dude.
And it's like, you like, and these are dudes that are just because they get paid these exorbitant rates to like make some shit that looks okay out of focus in the background.
Right.
And like, it's like, okay, you can poorly prime some wood with fucking like, it's like, there's like, that's kind of a butt joint. And, you know, yeah, there's like it's just like fucking.
Oh, dude, I mean, like, for me, like when I was out in the field, I'm actually not now. I work for my union as I train apprentices. You know what I mean? But when I was in the field, every single guy that came in and told me how much experience they had and how good they were, you could count on it like a fucking, like the moon. they are dog shit
Yeah.
most of the time. You know what I mean? And it's the same. You see it everywhere. It's like I've been doing this 30 years. It's like, well, great. You've been doing it wrong for 30 years. I don't know how no one's fucking corrected you yet. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm 38. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy to me, man. Like the guy that don't say shit just goes to work. You know, I mean, you get your handfuls of weirdos, but it's the same everywhere, man. I mean, like I said, every guy that's ever bragged to me about how much fucking experience they have all these pictures. Look what I did. Look what I did. Look what I did.
Oh.
You're like, okay, man, let's see you on the loader, or can you fucking do any, you know what I mean? And every time you're like, this is the international symbol for being fucked up, like in construction. You know what I mean? We turn our hard hat sideways at them. But yeah, it's odd, man. But it goes with that like arrogant idiot. Like you're just like, you don't listen. No one will listen to shit. No one will, you know, like no one can take constructive criticism. Period. You know what I mean? Like you know, try to tell someone they're doing something wrong. You watch fucking grown men melt. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy, man. It's just so weird, man. But I'm so stuck. Yeah. So, I mean, you're obviously busier than shit. Do you miss playing music? Are you playing music? What are you doing?
I mean, yeah. And like, I mean, I play guitar like every day pretty much, you know?
You still play every day?
And I've been writing a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
I see the stacks. Yeah, I see you. Still rocking that sun, dude.
Yeah, that's the Mexican one. You seen that one? The one that it's in walk us over here.
Yeah.
It's I got this in Tucson, Chicago music.
Okay.
But it is all it's Mexican made concert bass, so all the prints in Spanish.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fucking sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's rad, man. But so you still play, you're still writing, but no, you're not doing any active bands or anything.
When I first came out here, I was like playing with some dudes, hell thing, and I just kind of got like ended up like just getting insanely busy building studios, and I was at the thing where I was like, I don't want to kill this momentum that I have for this other thing to go back to that.
Right.
Like I will play shows again in some way, some form or fashion at some other point in time. Mm-hmm. Like I was kind of joking about like, I think more like 2020 is going to be the year.
Dude, me too, man. I had a new album come out with my new band, you know what I mean? And all this shit. Yeah. I was like, oh man.
Yeah. So this is actually, it reminds me of another conversation-worthy story of the last show that I have played. Mm-hmm. That incidentally just became the last Lord show, but it wasn't intended to be. 10 years ago, a decade ago, mm-hmm. I played I was on stage for the last time. Mm-hmm. I performing, and it was when Lords headlined. Lords was direct support for a wedding and a midget Marilyn Manson impersonator.
Dude, it's so good.
In an airplane hangar at a flea market surrounded by strip clubs.
That's a good one, dude.
That's how I went out. That was like
that's a really good one. That's a really and it was a wedding?
Yeah.
Dude, we actually share this in common. We have played the Wrath played a fucking wedding. So weird, man. Yeah, that's amazing.
That was it.
But that wasn't wasn't the infamous show. Wasn't there something that went down? Didn't you punch someone in the face or something? What was that? I remember a long time ago there was a couple that like one of the bandmates or something. I can't remember what it was. I remember reading.
I did beat up Matt J.
That's right. Yeah. Well, shit.
He deserved it. And,
hey, dude, I'm for it. As a guy that you know has done it a couple more than once, you know. I still have a problem with people getting on my stage while I'm playing, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. That's the one not punk rock thing about me is I don't fucking like when people, because I was a metalhead when I was a kid, and get up on a fucking stage, see what happens. You're going to get knocked out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's my stage. And then also every time someone gets up there, they break something. I have to buy a fucking $30 cord, or they stomp on my $150 pedal. Somehow something's broken and I can't even fucking play anymore. And so I just started, I give it to them, you know what I mean? And I know it would
Oh,
piss
absolutely.
my bandmates off, but I don't fucking care. Don't get on the fucking stage. We got 30 minutes. The band before us took 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Now we have to shave a
Yeah.
song off the set, and then I have to hear some drunk guy babble into my microphone. Like, fuck
Yeah.
off. You know, it's the one thing that still pisses me off to this day. You know,
I have a pretty big threshold for most things, except when you fuck with my livelihood.
right?
And like that's like where it like that's when it snaps.
Mm-hmm.
When it was like with Matt, like, well, his dad is a multimillionaire.
Okay.
He's a super rich kid. He was because he's dead, but drugged out.
Right.
Just like a rich kid heroin addict.
Yeah.
Enabled in every way.
Right.
And he was on like pills, narcos at the time. Amazing musician.
Yeah.
It was
But
his
it's
thing.
a bummer to deal with, man. You
Yeah.
know?
And we're playing the show, and it was the day before we're leaving for tour. The band has like no money. This is like the money that's going to have us be able to pay for gas and go to the first shows and everything like that. And then there's another band from Florida that were some friends of ours who was playing. So like they got the band. There's another thing going back to like I think the PTSD of Lords and bands is like,
Totally.
I booked the show. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was promoter at the show. I was also working the door at the show. I was also the sound man.
Right.
And I loaded up all of Lord's gear, all of the gear for everybody at my studio, came in, unloaded everything, set up the entire back line by myself, then set up the PA.
I'm already I'm getting twitchy hearing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thinking about
and
it.
So I'm just like, and the thing is, whatever, that sucks and it's not fun and you're frustrated about it and no one's helping you. But it goes back to the thing, well, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done.
Exactly.
And so it's just like, you got to do it. So I'm doing it. But the thing is, just show up, play the songs right, and don't be a bitch. It's like, oh, the other thing you ask. And like, we play, like we got done, and like, show was over at like 2 in the morning. And it's like, the bar's open till 4, and like, we're kind of hanging out, and like, I break everything down, pack stuff. It's like 3. I'm exhausted all fucking day long. We're leaving a tour the next day. And I'm like Matt and Eric were like, just kind of dicking around. I'm like, yo guys, let's and I'd already broken down all my shit, loaded all my shit up, I was breaking down the PA, and I was like, yo guys, let's get this shit, get your stuff packed up so that by the time I'm done with the PA and get that broken down, I can get the fuck out of here and go to bed.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, okay, cool. So I do my shift. Eric goes and starts breaking down his drums. And like, I kind of like finishing up the PA, and I look, and like the bass amp. So, and it was one of my cabinets and 2 of my heads, and then one of his Matt's cabinets and Matt's bass. And it's all just still sitting there untouched since we had played. Now sitting there for 2 hours untouched. And he's just like hanging out, drinking, talking to some girl. And I'm like, yo, man, I was like, break your shit down, dude. Everything else is done. I got to get the fuck out of here. I'm exhausted. Go to bed. Just you're holding up the program. And he's like, you should break it down. I'm like, what? He's like, you should break my stuff down. And I'm like, why? And he goes, break it down or give me $30. Another $30 is the thing that's coming up here. Maybe that was where I had it in my head.
That's why it's in your head.
And I was like, he said, he's break it down or give me $30. I was like, why would I give you $30 fucking dollars? Break your fucking shit down. He was like, we're like playing in your band. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, Matt, do you want to play in Bass and Lords? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, do you want to go on tour tomorrow? He's like, yeah. I'm like, shut the fuck up then and put your shit down and put it in the van now.
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes and he walks over and he's like pouting, and he takes his bass and he throws his bass across the room. Me and Eric are standing there and we're like, I was like, God. And then I see him look over at my head, the bass amp head, there was a concert lead, and I see him look at it, and I'm like, that motherfucker's gonna throw my head. And I start walking over towards him, and he's like, looks at me, and he picks up the head and just throws it. And I walk straight up to him, and I grab him by the shirt, and I punch him in the forehead.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
He's just a tiny dude. It's not like it was like beating a big thing, but it was like I was not even. That was just a situation where I was like broke. I was pushed to the limit.
Dude, the amount of disrespect, you know.
And like, and again, it's like this is everything, every single thing I own is right there. And every single second of my existence is dedicated to maintaining all of this shit. And I don't have anything else. And I'm barely even maintaining that.
Right.
And you're a fucking millionaire. And like, you want to break your own shit? Cool, break your own shit. But like, anyway, I Florida, got up, and it was sort of the immediate thing. And I was just like, you know, then he's like, that's it. I quit. Your band's ruined. I was like, my band's ruined because you quit. Like, you're the hired gun.
I'll have a new guy by 6 a.m.
Play the notes I tell you to. You do shit, like whatever. Like, we'll get into the bass player. And then he was like, and I'm like, I felt bad. I'm like, dude, man, I'm sorry. Like, immediately it was like kind of like,
I mean, it's not how you want to end a night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I was like, you know, but you have to understand. I'm trying to explain to him, like, you have to understand, like, you can't behave in this way. It's not acceptable. And like, you know, you are, you know, like, if you don't want to play in the band, don't play in the band. Like,
right.
No one ever made you do anything. It's like, this has always from day one been a voluntary thing. And, you know, so like, and if you want to do it, then the thing is like, load your fucking gear that you play. You know, you didn't even set it up.
Yeah.
This is like the absolute least thing. And then you can't go and break my shit because you or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, well, now you have to let me do. And I was like, what? And I'm like, all right, okay, like, you clearly don't understand the reality of
what's going on here. Yeah, that's insane,
so,
man.
Like,
that's a bummer it ended like that, you know? Did you guys do the tour with him
then
and all
he
that?
took a swing at me, then I actually beat the shit out of him again. What's that?
Oh, you beat the shit out of him after he swung on you?
After that, because then he took he was like, and then I was just like, look, man, then he pretended like he was walking away and then tried to turn around and do swing, and then I was just like,
yeah.
And,
did you do the tour with him, or was that it?
No, we did tour with that. We did tour with. I went on the way to our first show. I think it was in Denton, Texas. We stopped and got a fucking Boss Super Octave, and I just like made a rig, and we did the tour as a 2-piece with a fucking.
Oh damn! Really? Was that wasn't the last tour you guys did? Was it?
No. This is because then Adam. We did a bunch of tours after that, actually. This was
crazy.
You know, we had 2 other bass players after that.
Yeah. So do you keep in touch with any of the old guys from there? Like, I mean, what I know it was Stan and Tony. Was it Tony, the big dude?
Yeah.
Is he? Yeah, are they around? Tony died.
Yeah, it's heroin overdose.
Oh man.
Matt J died also overdose fentanyl. So Stan is in Florida now. He's just doing art shit. Like, you know,
he still does art and all that. I mean, because he did the Ox album. You know what I mean? I always fucking love that dude, man. I mean, I don't know how it ended with you guys. What an incredible drummer that guy was, man. Fuck.
Amazing drummer.
Yeah.
And like, that's one of the good things about Lords. The entire time Lords was a band, we always had like 2 of the best drummers in Louisville in the band, and one of them wasn't playing drums. Because like Tony Bailey, also an amazing drummer.
That's what I remember you. I remember you saying that he was a better drummer than a bass player. I was like, oh, buddy.
Totally. And then Matt J too. Matt J was also a phenomenal drummer.
Really?
And so like, but he's in Florida. Eric is in Pennsylvania, back in his hometown. He's doing some sort of like dissecting dead bodies or something. I don't know. That's actually like what he's doing. Something.
Yeah. I got a friend that's a burns bodies. You know, it's a crematorium operator. I'm like, that's the most metal shit on earth. And he's like totally that dude too. You know, it makes sense. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Well, fuck, man.
I thought this was every now and then.
That's cool. Anyone else you keep in touch, like the Coliseum guys? I remember you guys played a lot with them and shit. Or I mean,
Oh yeah, you know, I talk to Ryan every now and then. You know, when they're in town, stuff, see him, stuff too. I talked to Chris Maggio the most. Like, you know, he was in that band, then he was in Trap Them. Been playing on High and Fire now.
oh, okay, cool.
He actually came out here and stayed with me for a while. Like right when the fucking shit went down, like May. But that's about it. Like, I don't really know like what's going on there now, like what's currently there. I don't really keep track of it.
Well, I mean, why? You're busy. You're a busy man making studios and fucking for everyone, everywhere. Yeah, that's amazing, man. Well, dude, it's a fucking pleasure to catch up with you, bro. I mean,
dude, always.
I can't wait till this all opens up and we can actually hang out one day.
Yeah, we gotta go out to the desert and shoot some guns.
Yes, for sure. I'll let you know. I will definitely let you know when it happens. We usually wait till fucking spring or fall. Yeah. It's just too goddamn hot out there. We go way out in like Mojave, backside of Mojave, and we do it right. You know, we bring tannerite and blow shit up and
do some count me in.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, well, that's my new thing. I'm like full on off-road dude now.
Oh, really?
I actually have got my Icon stage 10 suspension system I'm about to put on.
Oh shit! What do you have? What do you have?
I got a 2020 TRD off-road Tacoma.
Okay.
But I had just like I had 2015 pre-runner, just 2-wheel drive, and I kind of got out into doing some desert shit and got in some precarious situations. And I was like, and then for my birthday this year, I just traded it in and got a brand new 4-wheel drive TRD off-road.
Fuck yeah.
And then I was taking that out a bunch and like pushed that to its absolute limit. And a few weeks ago, got stuck in the Picacho wilderness.
Oh fuck!
It took me 5 hours to get out, and it was really treacherous. But after that, I was like, fuck it. So I went all in. I'm getting 34s on it.
Nice.
I got the whole Icon Stage 10, which is 3.5-inch lift.
Yeah.
I got a new front bumper with a winch, the DeMello off-road aluminum front. Then I got a steel rear bumper, rock sliders, and I'm getting it re-geared too.
Oh, cool.
529s because once I get it raised, and then I got full like 1/4-inch steel full length skid plates for the whole bottom.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, dude, I'll let you know when we go out because we go up in you know where we go is we go up to Barker Ranch where the fucking Mansons lived.
Oh, dude, I go there all the time.
Oh, you been up there?
That's one of the spots, one of my main spots. Yeah, I go there all the time. So I go to like I have 2 jump off points. If I go north, I go to. Oh shit. Yeah, because like we could go to like. I'll usually drive from like on a Friday night. I'll go to Ridgecrest, and then I'll like stay there. Then I'll jump off, and then I'll hit like, you go through Ballarat, and go around there, and then go up through the mountain to Barker Ranch and up around there.
That's right. I grew up in Trona, dude. I was fucking born in Trona.
Oh fuck, you're from Trona?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And so like I don't know if you noticed when you drive out through Trona at the end, there's on the way to Ballarat, there's that massive scrapyard.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is.
That's my grandpa's scrapyard, dude. I grew up in that fucking thing. Yeah.
I go through there all the time, and I'm so obsessed with it. I was like, this place is insane. It's like an actual, like, it's like one letter away from Troma, and it looks like this mix between like Troma movie and Mad Max.
Especially now, like when I was a kid, it was an actual thriving little city, But they started closing that plant down, and now they used to do like 23 different fucking products out of there, and now it's like 3. Mm-hmm. So the town's like in shambles. They've lit a lot of it on fire, a lot of houses.
Totally, I know. It's like
I grew up in Homewood Canyon and up in Trona there. I mean, that's where I lived when I was a kid. My grandpa lives there. I still got family there. It's crazy out there, man.
That's funny. That scrapyard is literally. I was there like I guess it's been about a month ago. Mm-hmm. I was up through there, and I was like going past it, and I was just like. I kind of like, dude, look at all these fucking cars, man. This place is wild. I was like, I kind of want to just go fuck around over there.
Oh, dude.
That's your fucking grandpa.
You got me in. You got an in now, dude. Yeah, we'll go. And when I was a kid, like the rule was if you could figure out how to start it, you could drive it. And that, so it was like, we're trying to start dozers and fucking forklifts and we're flipping cars over and we're fucking, I mean, it was nuts when I was a kid out there, man. I mean, we'll have to, I said, we'll go out there, man. And we set up a tactical course through there. do the
Oh,
scrapyard
dude,
and shit. It's
so
awesome, man.
Down.
Yeah,
So
hell
down.
yeah.
1,000% in.
All right, man. Well, fuck, man. A
Well,
pleasure
I'll
to
let
catch
you
up
get
with
to
you.
it. Good
All right.
talking to you, man.
We'll talk to
Absolutely.
you soon.
Talk to you soon, man. Later.
Bye.